Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be bringing you book haul number 3 of 2017. So these books all consist of books that I picked up between the last half of June, the month of July, and then these first like 2.5-3 weeks or so of August. Yeah, I've been kind of like slowing down on my book buying just because I've accumulated a lot. I haven't been reading as quickly, so I haven't been buying as many books. I've been trying to kind of limit myself. So this is like what, 2.5 months or so worth of books, which is not that bad. I can't remember the order that I purchased them in, so I'm just going to show them to you guys at random. The first two books that I have here to show you guys is A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows, both by V. Schwab. A lot of you guys out there have already heard about these books, and I've heard really mixed things. Some people love them, some people seem not to really enjoy them as much, but I'm really curious. I've been curious to pick up more by V.E. Schwab. The only book that I've read by her is Vicious, and I absolutely loved that book, and I've been wanting to pick up other things by her since then, and just for some reason haven't. So I just ended up picking up these two. Another book I picked up is one that I'm currently reading, and that is The Love That Split the World by Emily Henry. Right after I read A Million Junes by Emily Henry back at the beginning of June, halfway through June or so, and absolutely adored that book, I wanted to go and pick up her first book that she wrote, and I'm currently reading this one, and so far I'm enjoying it. I'm only like 4 chapters in or so, but I'm really curious to see what I think about this one, because a lot of people seem to have really mixed opinions on this book, and because I enjoyed her other books so much, I wanted to go back and check this one out and see if this book is actually something that I'm going to enjoy because I like her writing style, or it just wasn't as well written as her second book. But either way, you will hear more of my thoughts on this one when my August wrap-up comes up. Then I picked up Titans by Victoria Scott. This is a middle grade story about a girl who enters into these races. They're these like mechanical robot horse races. The rider kind of like fuses with the mechanical horse, and that's kind of what they are. They're called Titans, hence the title of the book. And this girl enters into these races to win the race for certain reasons. So yeah, I mean, this was like super cheap on Amazon, and I've been wanting to check it out for a while now, so I'm glad I ended up picking this one up. The next two books are from the same author, and that is November 9 by Colleen Hoover, and It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've read both of these books already. I've talked about it in my July wrap-up, so I'm not going to really talk about them in this review, but I absolutely loved both of these. My wife is currently reading It Ends With Us. So yeah, if you want more of my thoughts on these two books, just check out my July wrap-up, which I will link down below. Then I picked up Elusive by Emily Lloyd Jones, and I've kind of recently started hearing a little bit about this book here on BookTube. I know it came out a while ago. It's about these kids who have some kind of superpowers, and they're trying to run away from this, corrupt government and that kind of, generic type dystopian. But I like dystopians, and this one sounded like it was pretty cool, and yes, I wanted to check it out. I believe this is the first one in a series or trilogy or something, and I got this one for fairly cheap, so yes. Then I also picked up Claws of the Cat by Susan Span. This is the first book in the Shinobi Mysteries. If you guys have checked out my review of Betrayal at Iga by Susan Span, which is the fifth book in this series, you know that I mentioned there that I wanted to try and go back and collect the first 4 and like start reading through. I'm really excited to go in and start reading this series from the very beginning and see kind of where everything started. I also picked up the Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is the last book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. I recently picked up book 2 a couple months ago, probably like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, from Goodwill, and I've been wanting to find a book 3 also used and hopefully read them fairly soon. I know that I'm probably going to be taking a children's lit class next semester, so I want to try and get through some of these older classic children's literature type books. So I'm glad that I finally have this one. This is probably going to be one of the first books that I attempt to read in like this kind of genre. So yes, I've heard really good things about this one. I'm super excited to finally have all 3 books in this series, and I think there's a 4th book coming out. It was just like recently announced, which is why everybody kind of like recently got excited about these books. So yeah. I also picked up The Girl Who Raced Fairyland All the Way Home by Catherine Valente. This is the 5th and final book in the Fairyland series. I've read the first 2 books, really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed this series and how whimsical and it's kind of getting dark within book 2 and everything. I'm really excited to finally have a book 5. I ended up picking this one up, I believe, from Book Outlet also, because it was fairly cheap there. So I'm really excited to continue on with this series and finally have all 5 books in it. Then I also picked up The Windfall by Diksha Basu. This is the July pick for Book of the Month. Yes, this was my July pick. And I've already read this one. I'm probably going to end up doing a full review on this one because I ended up really loving this book. Because yes, I believe that this book deserves its own kind of review. Then I also picked up Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. This was my August pick for Book of the Month. I've already read this one. I will be reviewing it at the end of August in my August wrap-up. Yes, this one was very fast-paced, very enjoyable. This is about a woman who gets trapped in a zoo with her son after like these active shooters like show up at the zoo at the end of closing time, and they're now trying to kind of run for their lives and survive the zoo while these kind of shooters are out there trying to murder everybody. It takes place within the span of 3 hours, so it's really fast-paced, it's very intense, and I will talk about that more in my August wrap-up and tell you guys more of my thoughts and feels and what I ended up kind of scoring this one. The next book I picked up was The Leaving by Tara Altebrando. This is a young adult mystery story about these 5 kids or 6 kids who end up disappearing when they're in kindergarten, and then years later 5 of them end up coming back. None of them have any memory of where they've been, and none of them can remember the 6th child that is still gone and nobody knows where they are. I've heard pretty good things about this one. It has been on my radar for a while, and I ended up going to Barnes & Noble and seeing that the paperback version was finally out, and I had a coupon, so I had to jump on this one because I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I'm hoping to get to this one before school starts, because school starts within like a week and a half or so. So hopefully after I'm done reading The Love That Split the World, I will jump into this one and get through this one fairly quickly, because everyone who I've heard has read this one says it's really fast-paced and you can get through this one fairly quickly. So I'm excited. And the last batch of books were all ones that I got from publishers. The first one was The Crumbs of Cross by D.E. Knight. I've already talked about this one a lot here on this channel. I've done a spoiler-free review. I talked about it in my July wrap-up. I will link all of that down below. I will not talk about this one here. And another book that I've already talked about and reviewed was Betrayal by Susan Span. Again, I have a spoiler-free review that I will link down below for this one. And then the next 2 books were from the same publisher. The first book was Alpine Ballad by Vasil Bikau. Yes, I do not know if I pronounced that right or not, but this is a really short book. I believe it's historical fiction, maybe it's nonfiction, but I know it's about this man and this woman who escape this concentration camp and kind of end up following each other while they're on the run to kind of find a new safe haven. I've heard really good things. Goodreads has really good reviews about this book so far, and I feel like this is one that I will be able to fly through. It's probably one that I'm going to end up trying to read like during school and stuff, like in between like assignments and everything, because it's so short. I feel like this is one that I can, you know, read while I'm busy with other things. And the next book I got from that same publisher was Tsunami by Anatoly Kurchetkin. Yes. I'm so sorry, I probably butchered that name. But it's been a little hard to kind of pinpoint what this book is about. I know from the synopsis, it feels like it is a literary fiction with multiple POVs. That alone was enough to kind of sell me on wanting to read this book. I absolutely love this cover as soon as I saw it, and I read that synopsis about it being multiple perspectives and literary fiction and kind of all of these different stories that intertwine. I knew it was going to be something that I wanted to read. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I feel like it's going to be a really nice kind of winter read. Maybe I'll read it during my winter break and see what it's all about, because I want to review this one on my channel for you guys, and seeing as I got it from the publisher. So yes, more of my thoughts on this one probably toward the end of the year. So yeah guys, that is it for all of the books that I picked up between the last half of June, month of July, and then the first month of August. Comment down below and let me know if you guys have read any of these, what your thoughts are. Maybe you guys can sway me to pick some up before others. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.